And the average child that comes in and has ADHD and does our brain-based care, on average they go up 2 letter grades. So if you have a child that's dealing with ADHD, been diagnosed with ADHD, not getting the grades you want to have them get in school, can't seem to focus, it really is never too late to start improving, and it's never too early. At our office, we treat infants, we treat toddlers, we treat elementary school kids and middle school kids, high schoolers, we even treat adults with ADHD, and we treat them with great success. And the reason why is because of our treatment philosophy. What makes us different is our treatment philosophy, and that is to treat the child or teenager and not to treat the diagnosis. Now, the reason why that's so important is because, again, the labels are, they really don't tell us that much. And again, we've already talked about that. So again, we want to find out what's causing these problems. We want to find out exactly what parts of the brain are not working the way they need to work and which parts of the brain are working. Because what happens is with most of the treatments out there, the medications and things of that nature, really all they're doing is covering up the symptoms. And we've already talked about that. So the newest research has showed us that there are certain parts of the brain in children with ADHD that are understimulated. Now, I know it seems like when you look at your child and he's hyperactive or can't seem to focus, it looks like the child has an overstimulated brain, but actually there's parts that are understimulated. The brain really needs 2 things to function and to survive. It needs fuel and it needs activation. Fuel comes from oxygen. It also comes from our nutritional sources. That's why the food that we eat, our glucose, things like that is very important. Our nutrition that we do in the office is critical for kids getting well. The other thing is activation. Now, activation is stimulation. The brain requires stimulation for it to grow and for it to function well. And so these children with ADHD have a side of their brain, parts of their brain that are understimulated. And when there's a part that's understimulated, what you'll get is you'll get some skills that are going to be accentuated and some skills that are going to suffer. And what becomes accentuated in kids with ADHD are what's called left brain skills. Left brain skills are things like fine motor movement. That's why these kids are so good with video games, because they've got really good dexterity in their fingers, but where they lack it is in gross motor movement, like balance and coordination. They're able to memorize things very well. That's a left brain skill, especially things that they're interested in. They can do puzzles and games. But what suffers is the right side of the brain, the other side of the coin. Like being social. The right side of the brain is your social skills or understanding social skills. That's very important. Being able to comprehend things, being able to concentrate, being able to focus on things that you're not interested in. That is a right brain skill. So these are the things that tend to suffer with kids with ADHD. So if you have a child that's suffering with these kind of problems, I know how difficult it can be. It can be extremely difficult. It can be really tough on the family, and can really affect your child quite a bit. And the self-esteem of the child alone is reason enough to get these things under control. Because if the child finds out, and once they do find out that they're different, they're going to find that out, and not in a good way. They're going to find out that they're different, but not the way they want to be. It's really going to affect them later in life. And most ADHD, it's been studied. We're going to go over this later in this video. It follows you later in life, in adulthood. So the newest research out there with ADHD is showing that the problem arises due to what's called a functional disconnection syndrome. A functional disconnection syndrome is an electrical imbalance between the 2 sides of the brain. Okay? It's a functional disconnection syndrome. It's not a structural disconnection syndrome. So the wiring is there. There's nothing functional, structurally wrong. The trouble is that the 2 sides of the brain are not in sync with each other. One side is strong, the other side is weak, and that's when you start developing the problems. One way to go over this or explain this is an example I use all the time in my office is Dancing with the Stars and the popular TV program. If you have one dancer that's extremely skilled and really good at what they're doing, and the other dancer that's not skilled at all, hasn't done his homework in learning how to dance, and when you look at that dance, it doesn't look smooth. It doesn't have any synchronization. There's no rhythm. There's no timing to it. So it doesn't look good, even though the one dancer can be incredible. So both sides of the dance, or both sides of the brain, are very essential in your child's skills. So same thing happens in the brain. If the left side is functioning better than the right side, that's when you start getting chaos. You get things like ADHD. You get all of the right brain deficient types of problems, and child can't focus and things like that. So functional disconnection syndrome is the cause of a lot of these problems. Now, when you look at two dancers on Dancing with the Stars and both of them have really done their homework, they've really trained really well, and both of them are equally strong, I mean, it looks effortless. You look at it, it's beautiful. You almost are like, I can't believe they're able to do that in such sync. Well, that's the way the human brain needs to work. But it's not working that way in children with ADHD. Now, the functional disconnection syndrome is well documented. It's been documented since the late 19th century in psychological journals and in neurological journals. But the problem is most people, very few people, have heard of it. And in fact, very few doctors have even heard of it. Even worse, they don't know how to recognize it, they don't know how to diagnose it, and even if they did diagnose it, they don't know what to do with it. And that's what we do, that's where we come in. We do brain-based therapy, and brain-based therapy looks at the weak side of the brain. It stimulates the weak side of the brain to get the imbalance better. We're going to go more into exactly what we do with brain-based therapy in a bit. But to really understand what's going on with ADHD and to understand why your child's having the problem, you have to understand a little bit about the left and right side of the brain. So if you understand how the brain functions when it's integrated, when it's working well, when both sides are even, the left and the right side of the brain are functioning even, you can understand what's going to happen when it's not integrated, when it's not functioning well. Because you can really think of the brain as a muscle. It's very similar to a muscle. And in some people, some muscles become very imbalanced and they can become weak. So we may have a right side that's real weak and the other side is going to become real strong. And that's exactly what happens in a functional disconnection syndrome. It's the same thing as almost having a weak muscle. Stimulate a weak muscle, give it some good nutrition. What happens to it? It becomes stronger. That's exactly what happens with exercise. That's exactly what brain-based therapy does.